It is a distinction of our modern age that we try to scientifically quantify and measure things like love and beauty, happiness and kindness, or tears and laughter. These are things that were once only left to poets and artists and dreamers to examine. Gratitude is one of these human dimensions that has been saturating the self-help market for the past several years. Gratitude is right up there with mindfulness as a trendy practice for well-being, marketed by such websites as happify.com and the Global Appreciation Project. Dozens of books on thankfulness include titles like "Thanks!" How the New Science of Gratitude Can Make You Happier, and "Gratitude Works!" A 21-day program for creating emotional prosperity. The internet turns up dozens of studies that offer scientific facts to prove that gratitude is good for you. It boosts your mood, it motivates you to exercise more and eat less, it enhances your romantic relationships, it's even good for business, these studies say. And I believe them. I always feel better when I've expressed my thanks, or when someone else has thanked me for even some small gesture of kindness. It isn't that complicated. The results of these studies are self-evident. And yet, as a culture, or even as a faith community, we don't really practice gratitude, that is, as a core spiritual discipline, beyond the proper manners and etiquette of saying thanks to the taxi driver or the waiter or someone for a gift or a stranger who opens the door. And yet, our Book of Common Prayer makes spacious way for thanksgiving in our liturgy. Listen for it. Our prayers of the people ask us in one petition to give thanks for all the blessings of this life, followed by silence, so we can add our own thanksgivings. The word Eucharist actually translates from the Greek as thanksgiving. It means good gift. Good, and charist is a gift. And the response is thanks for a good gift, the great thanksgiving. The words the priest says behind the altar, all the way up through the great Amen, is actually called the Great Thanksgiving. You'll see it if you follow along in our prayer book in a few minutes. And in the Great Thanksgiving, we say, "Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right to give God thanks and praise." And the priest continues, "It is right and a good and joyful thing, always and everywhere, to give thanks." And we go on to recall the grand narrative of our faith, from creation to reconciliation to resurrection, and these are all the reasons we celebrate with praise and thanksgiving. Not long ago, Father Justin and I were talking about the prayers of the people and noticing how easily and readily we can provide a list of people and situations for when we are asked to pray for the special needs and concerns of this congregation. But during the time we're asked to thank the Lord for all the blessings of this life, and the prayer book says to pause so people may add their own thanksgivings, we don't have a written list. We pause, and the pause is often silent. Our prayers of thanksgiving don't roll off our tongues as easily as prayers for help. And this is far from a scolding. In Clergy Row over there, we are noticeably quiet too. It doesn't mean that no one is praying thanksgivings in their silence, or that we don't have anything to be thankful for. Quite the contrary. But it's interesting and worth thinking about that as a community, we don't keep a running list of thanksgivings the way we do for intercessions. Maybe we should. For me, as I ponder this story of the 10 lepers whom Jesus heals and how only one returns to thank Jesus, I think it's a fairly accurate reflection for many of us, myself included, how we don't give a lot of conscious attention to the many ways we have to be grateful in our lives. While scientists quantify and spell out the benefits of gratitude for our health, our work, our moods, our social lives, it's still the poets who express it best. Thanksgiving is more than keeping a gratitude journal, though that kind of habit is excellent and can help wake us up to our many blessings, even and especially when we are living through hardships. Thanksgiving, practicing gratitude, is more than acknowledging the kindnesses others have done for us, though that habit is good for us and essential to a civil society. Practicing gratitude, actually exercising thankfulness, requires a whole shift in our usual orientation. Gratitude as a way of life comes from transformation in our way of seeing. Sometimes, like the 10 lepers, we are given an extraordinary gift, something we could never see coming, like recovery from an illness, or your broken relationship is restored. Or maybe someone returns your stolen wallet with everything still inside. Life does deliver happy surprises and life-altering good news sometimes. But in order to really practice gratitude, we need to let even the daily, the ordinary, the predictable things in our lives and in our world surprise us. If we can come to see that everything is a gift, then we can begin to take note and really name these things as worthy of our daily, hourly, constant thankfulness. From the air we breathe, to the warmth of the sun, to the nourishment of a hot meal, to the achievements that we think we've accomplished alone, it's important to recognize the astonishing gratuitousness of even predictable events in our lives, the sunrise or the changing of the seasons. These things happen on a regular basis, an ordered basis. We know basically what to expect. We even know the science behind what is happening. And yet, we can and should be surprised by their beauty and drama, again, every day, every year. Winter gives way to spring, and we can't believe how gorgeous the flowers appear, or how green suddenly the trees and grass become. Summer gives way to fall, and the colors take our breath away. The smell of dried up leaves crunching underfoot, the beauty of a slow cascade of red and yellow leaves drifting earthward is mesmerizing. That involuntary wow that wells up in us, to me, can really be understood as a form of gratitude. Wonder could be the twin of gratitude. It's easy to be grateful when we can be astonished even by things that we have come to expect. As the poet E.E. Cummings puts it, the eyes of my eyes are opened. When we appreciate how much we depend upon the ordinary things and how extraordinary the natural rhythms and seasons of life really are. I could never express the wonder of the ordinary the way the poets do. So let's hear it from Gerard Manley Hopkins, that great Victorian poet who wrote God's Grandeur. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil. And wears men's smudge and shares man's smell, the soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning, at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and bright wings. No matter how many ways we pave paradise to put up parking lots, nature is never spent. No matter how buried we are in our phones, we can still look up to be wonderfully surprised by orange and yellow leaves, or by a family of wild turkeys crossing the road like I saw on Lapham Road a few days ago. Similarly, the dogs at our Blessing of the Animals last week, barking like a canine Mormon tabernacle choir, were able to spontaneously return us to our childlike joy. The spiritual discipline of gratitude is to go from simple thank yous to intentional joy and wonder and a deep and heartfelt acknowledgement of God as the source of such grandeur, that dearest freshness deep down things Manley Hopkins talks about. Good or bad, all that we experience is a gift that can either teach us or grow us comfort us, or heal us. This gift sometimes is a small glimmer of hope that springs out of a dark place. It's the possibility that things can turn out okay, that we can rise up from our lowest places, or find love again after a heartbreak, or be strong again after a crippling illness, or find a new way forward against all odds when life is not going to get better. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. Jesus heals 10 lepers. Leprosy was just about the worst fate that could befall a person in the first century. Lepers were outcast and suffered social stigma if they were not ostracized outright. To touch a leper for a Jew was to make oneself ritually unclean. So a Samaritan, a foreigner who was also a leper, was doubly outcast and thus doubly aware of his gift. The other 9, to be fair, do exactly as Jesus tells them to. They go to their priests, and presumably they're allowed back into their community, restored and well. But the 10th leper, a Samaritan, isn't only cured of his leprosy. He's given something more than just a return to health. For this double outcast, the eyes of his eyes are opened to see Jesus giving him his humanity as well. He turns back to Jesus in effusive gratitude, recognizing the astonishing gift of healing that Jesus gives him, a fresh start, a hope and a future, and now a relationship with Jesus, the consummate friend of outcasts. The Samaritan's act of showing gratitude connects him to Jesus. When we show gratitude, somehow it unites us with God and with one another. It connects us to the one who's given the gift. Perhaps this is why the 13th century monk, Meister Eckhart, speaking like a poet, could say so simply, if the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, that would be enough. Our lives are a gift. It is enough. Indeed, it is everything to be thankful.